You're watching STV 6 p.m. newscast live from our headquarters here in Accra, in the city of Douala. The headline: ahead of the 72nd edition of the International Human Rights Day commemorated every December 3rd, the Human Rights Defenders Network (REDAC) has today in Douala met with some human rights activists as well as government officials to discuss or brainstorm on how peace can be restored in Cameroon. With this year theme being Recover Better, the group hopes to seek lasting solutions towards recurrent evils like hate speech. With the Christmas celebrations fast approaching, some parents we met today in the streets of Douala are yet to start with the festive preparations. A solution, or a situation rather to say, is as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Details of this and many more in a while. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us once more on another edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Spectrum Television. I am Kone. As Ella mentioned in our headline, in prelude to the 72nd International Human Rights Day celebrated every December 3rd, the Human Rights Defenders Network (REDAC) has met with some human rights activists as well as government officials today in Douala so as to discuss on how peace can be restored in Cameroon. With this year's theme being Recover Better, the group hopes to seek solutions towards recurrent evils like hate speech. Details with Oni Ladonet.
The propagation of hate speech, both on and offline, is a disheartening reality experienced by Cameroonians on a daily basis. Hate speech is any form of expression intended to incite fear, hatred among a certain group of people. In prelude to the 72nd International Human Rights Day, scheduled on Thursday, December 10, 2020, the Human Rights Defenders Network (REDAC) in a meeting seeks to find out how these can be eliminated.
Africaine a mis en place un programme Faire taire les armes en 2020. Et le programme est à la fin. Et aujourd'hui, en 2020, les armes tonnent plus que jamais en Afrique centrale et particulièrement.
The African Union has created a program. Be an example in 2020. The program is almost finished. Today, arms are being used all over Central Africa, especially in Cameroon. That's why we said this day, that marks the end of the year and the celebration of human rights, we will bring together media men, human rights activists, magistrates, government officials, everyone who can be involved in hate speech, so we can discuss on how to eliminate this evil.
Par rapport aux propos haineux, par rapport, n'est-ce pas, au repli identitaire, qu'ils viennent et qu'on, les journalistes d'ailleurs, et qu'on en discute et qu'on voit comment on doit sortir de la.
With hate speech being one of the catalysts for violence, creating punishments for defaulters will help reduce its influence.
We need us all to look at the law, the enactment that our president did on 24th of December, and said this should be done. Defaulters, those who do this, will face the law, will go 3 years in prison with a fine of 3 million francs. This should be implemented, but still, we still have people going about doing the same, committing the same act with nothing in return, like they're not being served what they deserve. So it is time for us to like take the bull by the horn and say enough. And how do we say enough? We need to monitor to ensure that these laws that are being enacted are being practicalized and not only being put on paper.
The theme for the 72nd edition of the International Human Rights Day is Recover Better.
Let's now talk about something else. Despite the ban on the sales of roadside drugs by authorities in Cameroon, some vendors here in the city of Douala could still be spotted at the Ngonswa market selling drugs. Details with Peter Siose.
The ban on the sale of roadside drugs by government seemed to have fallen on deaf ears as the sale of contraband medications continues to grow in leaps and bounds across the country. In the economic capital Douala, street vendors and self-proclaimed pharmacists openly stack these drugs on wooden tables. We are at Ngomswa Marché Plantain neighborhood in the Douala 2 municipality, a major hotspot where drugs are sold indiscriminately. Dealers here get them from various sources.
De l'Europe. On a des frères en Europe
This vendor says he gets his drugs from his brothers out of the country since they don't have official authorization to import legally like pharmacists. Most roadside drug sellers lack medical knowledge on how their products work and how they are stored. This makes their job a challenging one. This man has been in business for close to 34 years. He explains that they sell drugs based on medical prescription from the hospital, but can also handle minor cases like fever and stomach pain. Medical experts have often doubted the quality of these drugs, insisting they constitute a major threat to consumers when wrongly administered. However, this view is not shared by those in the sector. This vendor refutes claims that their drugs are of bad quality because their human consciences will not permit them to put patients at risk. Public health authorities, together with administrative and security officials, have made countless moves to crack down illicit drug dealers in Douala, but they are determined to continue the trade.
And now 25 auditors from the International School of Security Forces, led by the Director General of Air Force, Andre Patrice Bitote, have been drilled on the role of the administrative authorities in handling security crisis in the littoral region by the governor of the region, Samuel Dodone Ibaha Dibois. Details with Oni Ladonet.
"25 auditors, police officers and superior gendarmerie officers from the International School for Security Forces are currently in Douala undergoing field work for their training. A phase intended to better acquaint them with the knowledge of the ministerial and interministerial bodies competing for the security function, present its real operational capacities of units on the ground, allow them confront the knowledge acquired with the realities of the field, amongst others."
Led by 25 trainees coming from 4 African countries: Cameroon, Congo, Cote d'Ivoire and Mali. And we are satisfied by the reception, we are satisfied by the conducting of this mission till now. The training is in the field of security studies. Security studies as far as the internal security and the peacekeeping mission are concerned.
This working session started on December 7 and continues right up to December 13.
For the first time that Air Force is coming here in Douala. Last time they came with an aim. This one there's another aim. They want to see how the role of the administrative authority as far as the security crisis are done in our region. So we were glad to meet them and to see that they were very interested to see how we are managing those crises.
After the exchange with the governor, the trainees are enthusiastic in learning.
I want to say that after the theory, we're now in the level of practice. Yes. So we are now, for us, planificators, we are supposed to master what is really on the ground. We're supposed to know how within a crisis, different authorities can act. Everyone at his own level. The governor is a one. We just finished to have a conversation. We have a conversation with the governor. And according to what the governor told us, we have 3 main actions for the authority, administrative authority. First of all, the information to the population. Secondly, collaboration and cooperation, coordination within all the forces, all different actors. And thirdly, action. Action how? Action exactly when it is necessary on the ground. We can take the example of the crisis we are facing now in the Northern Sea, so that we have to act within different components. That is it.
This is the 7th cycle of the International School for Security Forces.
And now with the Christmas celebration fast approaching, some parents we met in the streets of Douala are yet to start with the festive preparations, a situation that says as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Once more, Oni Ladonet.
According to inhabitants met today in the streets of Douala, the end-of-year celebrations won't have its usual steam due to various reasons.
Moi personnellement j'ai perdu un enfant, donc cette année m'a beaucoup fauché par rapport à mes projets.
I lost my child this year. My projects got cancelled. I don't think this year's Christmas will be the same.
Pareil, donc cette année on ne fête pas. En fait moi personnellement je ne fête pas cette année.
La fête du coronavirus est venue gâter.
The COVID-19 spoiled Christmas celebration. Up till now, Christmas items are still unavailable in the market. Nothing shows there's Christmas.
Il n'y a rien. Rien ne manifeste qui est annuel. Il n'y a rien qui montre qui est annuel.
Le plus que dur. Avec le Covid là, on ne sait même quoi faire.
Things are hard. Due to the COVID-19, we don't know what to do. We are still on the same spot.
Mais malgré ça, nous nous endurcissons sur ça, puisque nous sommes sur la même position.
It will be the same because this year I see that we don't have money. There is no money because of this Anglophone and Francophone crisis. So we don't have enough money. Money is not speculating. So I will see that this year will not be like the other year. That's what I can say for the moment. Because this year, even me, I'm selling. I don't have money the way I used to sell the other year. So there's no money in circulation.
Since 3 years, end-of-year festivities have been the same. Nothing special. It's not the COVID-19. It has been so since 3 years.
C'est toujours bizarre. Ça ne donne pas.
For others, despite the presence of the COVID-19, life must go on.
Et on va essayer de fêter comme d'habitude, tout simplement. Malgré la maladie, on met le masque.
We will celebrate as usual. We will wear a mask and try to live a normal life. Christmas is Christmas.
Voilà, tout simplement. Noël, c'est Noël, il y a l'esprit de Noël et puis voilà quoi.
With the hard times, some parents are doing their possible best for their kids to have a blissful festive season.
To our international page, plans are underway for the inauguration of Joe Biden as the 46th President of the United States. VOA with more.
Construction of a platform on the Capitol steps and a reviewing stand in front of the White House are the familiar clues that America's quadrennial winter festival, a presidential inauguration, is just around the corner.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect. A lot of people are wondering what your inauguration is going to look like, considering...
So am I.
All smiles aside, Biden is not alone in wondering how the coronavirus pandemic will affect the festivities attached to his swearing in.
There is nothing that will inhibit President-elect Joe Biden from taking the oath, from giving a speech, and from having a few dignitaries around him in the out-of-doors space that is the west front of the Capitol.
Laura Brown is the director of the George Washington University Graduate School of Political Management. She says most Americans who watch the inauguration on television will notice the difference once the cameras cut away to the audience.
I think what you are more likely to see are sort of spaced out chairs, perhaps with actual tickets to access the space, and a way in which to make sure that people are safe even though they are out of doors. I imagine, too, that masks will be mandatory.
The United States Constitution mandates what is said when taking the oath of office and when it takes place. Biden admits the usual ruffles and flourishes will be missing from his inauguration.
My guess is there probably will not be a gigantic inaugural parade on down Pennsylvania Avenue. But my guess is you'll see a lot of virtual activity in states all across America, engaging even more people than before.
Laura Brown says crowd size will not be an issue at Biden's inauguration.
We are not going to see the president and the first lady dancing at each one of the major states' balls. We are not going to see, huge numbers of Americans packed on the street waving the parade forward. This is going to be a time of seriousness, substance, austerity, and purpose.
President Donald Trump has yet to concede the election and is reportedly considering holding a competing event to kick off his 2024 presidential campaign. Biden said his inauguration team is being more imaginative because of COVID-19.
First and foremost, and my objective is to keep America safe, but still allow people to celebrate and see one another celebrate it.
Steve Reddish, VOA News, Washington.
And at international page cuts the cuttings on today's edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Spectrum Television. Ladies and gentlemen, take the rendezvous at exactly 8 p.m. for the French version of the news with Ines Pangang. Have a beautiful evening.